$10 to come in. It's $10 to get in the door, right? Somebody has $3. Somebody has $6. Somebody has $9. If I can judge that I can give them all $3, it will actually be equality.
Right.
But it won't be righteous because somebody needs more than that. And that's called equitable. That's not equality, equitableness. I can't do it equally because it's not equally distributed in the first place. That's just like the black and white issues or the issues in diversity. There's no equitableness.
Right.
So righteousness is actually a synonym. To be equitable, I'm judging equitably. Like, because which is the way Jesus did. He that sinneth much, loveth much. So there is different levels, and it is okay that you can't drink, but the next person can have a drink.
Right.
Because the way your life is set up.
And that's the truth.
So when we talk about righteously, we're not talking about an apple is an apple and a plum is a plum. Yes, it is. But even apples, there's a McIntosh or Granny Smith.
Right.
So let's talk about the needs assessment of this apple.
Right.
Because you don't slide in because you're an apple. So I love that scripture, but I think a lot of times the point is kind of when we judge him righteously does not mean we take a self-righteous position. Right,
because I'm right.
Yeah, because I know that the word is right. The word, even Paul told you, and he is a very sore point to a lot of theologians. There's a lot of arguing over him because his dogma is so argumentative from different sides, right? But even he said that the letter killeth. It's the spirit that's going to make and give life. You see what I'm saying? So, and that's that righteousness being executed.
Right. How are you executing your righteousness?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and like you said, is it equitable?
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily equal, but it needs to be fair.
It does need to be fair. That as
it pertains to the situation at hand. Because the truth of the matter is, if Jesus wanted to, the woman that was caught in adultery, he could have judged her righteously in the stoning.
He could have, because from where he was all perfect. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be stoned, because I'm not coming from a place. But that wasn't equitable to those who, it's not fair that you who have come here have more sins than her. I'm not going to embarrass you either. Now, that's the wonderful part. I'm going to let your own mind and the Holy Ghost that is in this place convict you to go ahead. Just go. Go ahead. Just go.
Which is why he had them to think. Let he who is without sin cast the first. That right there was a thought. Because now I'm not calling out what you've done, but I am going to cause you to think about what you have done that you think I don't know, and what you think she doesn't know, or what you know she doesn't know. So now let's see. Then he said, woman, where are your accusers?
And it's so interesting because we talk about how the church has robbed us of our thinking capabilities, but everything that Jesus did, he made them think.
Everything was a thought.
He asked them questions from your own mind. Why? Because a little of him is in them. He made you after his own kindness. So you have thinking capabilities. And I want you to exercise them. You have enough consciousness in you to do whatever is needed to be done. So I'm going to empower you with the opportunity to think and judge yourself. Be mad if you want to after you get through. But you're going to have to answer within yourself. I don't need to answer it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, and I know your phone is winding down, and you know it is 8:43, and
I'm surprised.
Listen. We could do this all night, okay? Because okay, because but it's good conversation to have, to understand. We know what's in the church, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly, but we also know that there is a road to healing from it. And it all starts with self-assessment. right? It all literally starts with you realizing who you are. It all starts with self-reflection, or as some or as Jadoni said, reflectivity. He said that's the word for tonight when it comes to us. Everything that we're talking about is truly reflective. Okay, we're doing reflectivity going on over here. My friend Gail talking about don't end it yet. Look at Gail. Gail talking about don't end, man. We've been on here almost 2 hours. Okay, the man needs to eat. He might need some more water or something. You know, trying to be
I get the size by dieting.
Trying to be respectful of the man's time. But let me say this. I truly do. What I want to say is that for this, and this is not the end of this topic. And I'm going to be very honest with everybody. This is not the end of it, because I believe that I'm just literally touching the surface of this topic. And I wanted to touch the surface of it this month because I wanted to highlight certain things that have gone on in the church that have truly affected people's lives. You know, we had the first young man come on as a pastor's son to talk about his experience in the church. You know what I'm saying? Where he was open enough to say that there were preachers that would preach across the pulpit, you know, in his parents' church, but then try and talk to him afterwards. You understand what I'm saying? That's very detrimental, you know. And then we had Dr. Chanel come on and discuss her book, Touched, right? And that to me was truly monumental to have that discussion with Dr. Chanel. And the reason that it was monumental was because of her story. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it is imperative that we understand that there are certain things that people have gone through in the church that they have not necessarily healed from yet, that they're in the process of healing, right? And then we did a little twist on it where I had myself be interviewed, and I didn't know the way in which LaRon was going to come with the interview, but I respect how he did it, because a lot of times people do not understand why I talk about the things in which I talk about. And I talk about them because they resonate within my heart to talk about them, because I believe that it is imperative that we stop muzzling the voice of people because what they're saying so-called goes against, or what people view as something that is negative about the church. The truth of the matter is, if we would begin to deal with these things a lot more, we would have a lot less people being hurt when they go into the church, right? The building, and encounter people. And the truth of the matter is, almost everybody that had a story, really and truly, their story was surrounding leadership. It wasn't surrounding the people in the pew. It wasn't, you know, sister so-and-so, she ain't like me and I ain't like her. And, you know, she talked about me. No, that's not what we were talking about. Nothing frivolous is what we were talking. We were actually talking about leadership. And one of the things that I've always questioned God about is, Lord, how do these people call themselves leaders under you and they don't even exude the characteristics that you said they should have? So then that is when you begin to question, were you actually called by God? Were you a leader by God? Or are you just a leader by man? And I think that a lot of times, if we begin to really and truly comprehend and just read the Bible as it is written, right, and begin to truly study, like you said, how many times do we actually do research on the pastor? Because guess what? I learned a good, valuable lesson. If you the good pastor and you've been divorced 3 times, I feel like I need to interview all your ex-wives, right? Because
you should.
Hello, because back in the old church, right, in order for you to become a bishop, right, did they not have to interview?
They did.
And if you were divorced, they had to interview the first wife. Now, as long as she's not a liar, And some of y'all first and second wives need to stop lying, okay, and start telling the truth about what your experience actually was, and stop condoning some of this stuff. Because the reason why half of these imposters are getting in is because you're not being honest. Because you want to cover, right? You want to keep covering, thinking that, well, if I cover him here, then it should get better. And then he ends up doing the same old thing. And even she, because some of these women are just as bad as some of these men, okay? And it's bad, okay? And I think that the more we keep discussing these things, the more we keep bringing them to light, the more we will begin to educate people to be on the lookout so that they can understand, when you walk through these doors, this is what you need to do. Mm-hmm. Have your eyes open. Don't walk in blindly thinking that, this is just okay. No, because it's not. It's not okay. It's not okay for you to be treated badly. It's not okay for you to be treated unfairly. It's not okay for you to be lied on. It's not okay for you to be ostracized. None of that is okay, because that's not what you're actually there for. That is not what a house of prayer is for. That is not what a house of healing is. And pay attention to the names of these churches. If they call themselves a house of prayer and you don't really feel now 1 ounce of prayer going on in there, it is not a house of prayer. You call yourself a house of deliverance and there's more mess and gook and all this foolishness going on, and ain't nobody being delivered from none of this stuff, question where you at, because there should always be evidence of the fruit of that house somewhere. Mm-hmm. And if the house begins to shift, because when you first got there, everything was great and it was all peachy, and then, you saw the move of God and you did all this, and then certain things begin to shift, look at the leadership. I never forget, I said something and I got damn near kicked out of church for saying it, but I didn't care. Prophet came in, condemned the whole little lady, right? And I said, I'm confused, because if the prophet's saying all of that is going on, that means the head is infected. You're dealing with the tail. Why haven't you turned around and dealt with the head? Because if God can reveal to you the tail, then I'm telling you, the Lord should have revealed to you the head. But you want to come up in here and rebuke the tail, but you don't want to deal with the infection that's coming from the head. And I promise you, it literally maybe a few days after I said that, I had got a good old sinus infection. But I believe that was the Lord showing me what happens when the head is infected, right? However, the good pastor, the good church told me, he prayed my sickness wasn't brought on to me for speaking against leadership. And I said, well, I don't know what you're talking about, because I ain't speak against nobody's leadership, but I do have a sinus infection, which I'm prone to at that time. So, every time I remember that story, it just irks my whole good soul. Okay? It just irks my whole, because I'm like, how dare you act like my little sinus infection was because I said the head is infected? I don't care if you at the head, if you at the tail, if you at whatever. I said what I said and I meant what I said. And the truth of the matter is, what I said was actually right. As much as people wanted to condemn me for saying it, but it was the truth. And I meant it. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of the times when you are people like ourselves that literally will call out the truth in it and speak it, we are oftentimes ostracized. We are oftentimes condemned. We are literally made to doubt that we even hear what we hear. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We are made to doubt that we even have the understanding that we have. So then you become a witch and a warlock, and half of them don't even know what a real warlock is, okay? Because a warlock is not a male witch. But that's another story of another false teaching that goes on with these false teachers that want to run around here and think they know something about all this witchcraft stuff, and you really know absolutely nothing. I'm sick of it. You cannot tell me that you operating in the spirit of God as a prophet and you spouting off a conspiracy theory. Sir, ma'am, sit down. God is not in your conspiracy theory. God is in truth. That's it. Ain't nothing conspiracy about it. It is or it ain't. That's it. There ain't no gray area in the word of God. Okay.
I love it.
People get conspiracy theories and stuff. However, what I want to say is I thank you for being your transparent, natural, jolly, joyful self. Because
listen,
Because your teaching style is very real, but it's something that everybody can relate to.
Yeah, I think that being very, because I could sit and use words like pragmatic and they'll come out because I pay for my words and I love words.
You better pay for all of them.
And we'll be paying for them.
Hello.
They want their money.
Hello.
I'm trying to defer them, but they want their money. So, but I think what good is it to speak where people, to impress you doesn't change you.
No.
And frankly, the church is tired of being impressed. People are tired of people trying to impress them, because that's what and that's the elitist part of church, where they come in and act like we have a usurp on God that you can't get. Like God only speaks through me and my people and it's not true. And I do believe in order, but I do believe that God will pick up whoever He wants to do whatever He wants. Like, you are nobody now, and especially most of the time, the reason He's doing it is because you are not in place, because you are corrupt, because you have not listened, because you have left the way. But I think that in healing, it's so important that after we've acknowledged, after we know, okay, the church is hurting, because most of the time we only do two things: the coping mechanisms of Black Pentecostal Baptist church. Is either we stay bitter, sitting right there, or we exit and never return.
And that is a
and when I say stay bitter, I don't even mean that you can particularly stay at that same church, but you go to another church, you stay in the church cycle, doing the same thing, carrying your same bitterness from one church to the next. And so you come into this place, with 12 different churches bittered sitting there, representatives. You got ambassadors of all type of bitterness sitting up in church, but no one's getting healed. No one's showing that, it's really like, well, baby, that's just the way church is. You'll learn after a while just to turn your... No, that cannot be what God meant. Couldn't be. He killed Ananias and Sapphira for lying to the Holy Ghost, and you can just come up here and do what you want when you want, and I just got to be okay with it, knowing that God, He's trying to do it now. He's trying to do it through you, and you won't open your mouth. We're ending. But I have to say this because it's a part of who I am, my makeup, that you should seek professional help as well. Mm-hmm. Because I watched my mother, who was more damaged than I, because her story is deeper than mine. They really hated me because they hated her, and they hated her because the pastor's daughter was supposed to marry the man that picked her from a different church to marry. And back in the day, you go where your husband is. Mm-hmm. So since he was a preacher at this other church, and there were sister churches, he saw her over there and asked, could I marry her? And brought her into something she knew nothing about, that he had already been courting the pastor's daughter. And so the whole family hated my mother's whole family. And that was a whole nother beast. But I watched her be damaged, not say anything, mute all her gifts, totally break down and become angry and bitter, and walk away from the church for years. And if you would almost mention the name of the church, she would start almost shaking. Like, that's how deep it could fester, unresolved. Till I told her, I don't want you to go to nobody to talk to them and pray over you. I need you to go see a therapist. Mm-hmm. Because it's going to, especially Black church is so that it's our whole entire being. The Black church was the center of everything for Black people. Yep. It was your aunties, your sisters, your brothers. That's why the reason we got cousins, and they were like, well, on whose side? And on the church side. But we really mean that's my cousin. Like, we will die saying that that's my cousin. And then people will really think that we're blood related, and no, but because church was just that centrality, it was just that core, and being shamed at church was being shamed on your job, being shamed in the home, because that's all we had. So when you get that type of level of development and entrenchment into your psyche, it is not something that just washes away by going to a new church. It's not something that you just go speak in tongues, do a dance, turn around 4 times, and pay them $500 and prophesy away.
Hello.
It's something you now need, because it has now flawed your character and your perspective. So you need to seek specific professional counseling. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's no stigma about it. It happens all the time. And today's time, I'm actually a part of AACC, which is American Association of Christian Counselors, which is a whole group of licensed, trained therapists who have Christian values or religious values that will, that can help walk you through these journeys. And this is nothing like when you go to our conferences and things like that, these are the things we talk about. This and leadership are the two subjects. Church hurt, basically dealing with laity and their church hurts, and leadership and their disenfranchisement of church. So please, ma'am, talk to someone, write it out. Don't hold it in, but please seek professional help.
And with that is how we are going to end this good episode of the Muzzle is Off podcast. The road to healing, you should get on the journey of seeking some type of professional help. That is the same thing Dr. Chanel said. That is the same thing we've all been saying, is that sometimes you need that outlet.
You do.
You need something else in order to help you to process through. It's traumatic.
It is.
What your mother experienced was traumatic. What you experienced was traumatic. What Gary experienced was traumatic. What Chanel experienced was traumatic. What I experienced was traumatic. What a lot of people have experienced has been traumatic in the church. The place where you're thinking that I'm going to receive love, you know what I'm saying, and safety and restitution. You know what I'm saying? For all things, and because restitution has nothing to do with money, but it's the place where I am going to be redeemed. I'm going to be restored. I'm going to be renewed. I am going to find this new life. I am going to be made whole. I'm going to find this man named Jesus who, let me tell you, that story literally was like the story. When I first read it, I was like, oh my God, this woman at the well. You know what I'm saying? Because when you encounter God for the first time, that's how you feel. And for so many years, you hear people preach over and over again. It's time. The Lord said it's time for you to return back to your first love. It's time for you to go back to that place you were when you first encountered him. You traumatized that place of my first encounter. So now what I remember is not how sweet it was, but I remember the hurt behind it. I remember the pain behind it. I remember the judgment behind it. I remember the condemnation behind it. I remember that it was pure, and that purity got tainted by what you did, by what you said, by what you accused, right? So now you're asking me to go back to a place that hurt. I'm not going there.
That's right.
Now I got to look to God to say, Lord, I need you to bring me to a new place.
Yeah. And that's what so many people do.
And in your road to healing, you begin to recognize that you need that new place, because the old place, you have to replace that memory. That is one of the biggest things that I remembered, when there are specific dates for me that are very traumatic, right? And I learned that I had to, through counseling, change the memory of those dates. So
rewrite the narrative.
So that they no longer are a trigger of what is negative.
That's right.
So now the memory isn't what hurt me. The memory is what healed me, what helped me, and we have to begin to do that. So that,
show me where he laid me. Show me where you laid him. That's that part of the passage. Yeah.
Right. And we have to rewrite it. And oftentimes we don't like to rewrite it. But people always ask me, the very first place that I ever experienced church hurt in. Why did you go back? I said, the Lord told me to go back because I had to rewrite that memory. So I could not, the Lord did not want me to leave that untouched and leave that as a place of pain, but it needed to be a place of healing and a place of restoration and a place of freedom. So I had to go back. I am very keen. One thing I am very keen to when the Lord is moving me and how he's moving me, right? And even the whole situation that even happened with my ex, I don't know how God is going to resolve a lot of that, right? I don't know. I don't know how or anything, because I know the Lord knows the Nakia of today is still kind of angry about that, right? Like there's still anger there. There's still pain there, because I do feel that there was amount of vengeance that I wanted that I did not get, right? Because I listened to these good church folk tell me to forgive, and I believe that I forgave prematurely. I forgave a little too soon and a little too fast. So now, because I feel that way, I have to resolve the fact that it's already done, and I'm not there yet. Because for me, in Nakia's book, somebody's teeth needed to be knocked out their mouth for what they did to me. You know what I'm saying? That's Nakia's book. I ain't telling nobody else their book, but I'm telling you Nakia's book. That's how Nakia feels. You know, so I have to resolve that. And until I actually resolve that, you know, I don't know how God is going to, you know, work all of that out. But I know that he will in due time, right? And I think that we have to allow ourselves the time. And sometimes we don't even allow ourselves that. Because people tell you, oh, well, you can't speak if you're not healed. Or you can't do this if you're not healed. And it's like the devil is a liar. I'm speaking through my healing, because my healing is going to come. And I'm going to process through all of this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not healed to the point where I'm no longer upset or angry, but I'm healed to the point where I can talk. And I can speak without crying, right? I can literally voice this to you, and I don't feel no type of way. But I just might feel like somebody's like head should have been popped off, and that's all right. Feel it. It didn't happen, right? But I might feel that way,
right?
You know. So until I resolve the popped offness of heads, I'm like, all right, whatever it is what it is. It's cool, you know. But we don't allow people to be real with their healing process, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. That's why I was so happy when you detail how you healed, and you were like, and the truth of the matter is, I reached my climax of healing a year ago, right? When Dr. Chanel was on, and she said, and I still haven't forgiven. I felt that, because that's real, you know, because we tell people, we try and force people into a forgiveness that is fake. No, I'm not forcing you into anything. That person hurt you, they traumatized you. You take your time, honey, heal. Whatever time you need, take that and heal. Go through your process of healing, you know. And even for the first guest, Gary, he came on, he was like, I'm over church. I can never go back, and I don't care. So now he has to walk through the stages of healing. Right? That's right. That's real.
That's true.
And we don't allow people the realness of their process, because we want to rush everybody into saying, no, because if God forgave you, then you can forget. I am not God. So stop trying to make me do things that you keep saying God did. Yes, God can do all of that, but I'm me. And therefore, my job, I don't have to forgive you right away. You don't get to come to me and be like, please forgive me. And I'm like, oh, okay. No, I don't forgive that. No, I do not. And guess what? I don't know when I will. And when that decision comes, I'm not going to come and tell you I've forgiven you. I'm just going to resolve it. Period. You know what I'm saying? And we have to allow people the space to do that, and stop condemning them. Stop telling them that they're wrong. Stop telling them that, oh, you can't talk about that because you're not healed. I can talk, because maybe through my words, words, healing will come.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's one greatest source of healing, is letting it out. Bottling it in is the problem.
It is, because when you bottle it in, and then next thing you know, people trying to figure out why these folks is popping pills, drinking all the time, smoking weed. Hello.
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage, please, anybody, please hear me. I know she's signing off, but I got to say this on this point, because we are suffering in a pandemic, and our stresses are all high, which means that we have seen a surge in suicide, either by ideation or actuality. Well, if you talk about it, at least the person listening can hear some indications of like, now wait a minute, are you okay? Now, okay, I'm gonna watch you, or you need to come over to my house tonight, or we need to keep on talking about this, or get you into some professional help. But if you hold it all in, that has been the barrier, and isolation is always the worst and first step of suicide and all destruction. Even if you don't commit suicide, the first step to even people who have gone and done mass killings was because they isolated themselves first. And so there's this mind started going. Your mind you know how everybody knows, because it's human. You have this one thought, it leads to another thought, and if you don't actually literally stop your mind, it will go until it self-destructs. So sometimes you don't even have enough power to, but at least if you're talking aloud, saying it, somebody can tap you and say, what's wrong with you? Like, that didn't happen. That's not, where are you going with this? You know, but so please talk about it. If they get tired of it, find somebody new and talk it again, you know, but by all means. And I know we have whiners and you just going to bear it, but please talk about it. Don't ever let anybody silence your voice. That's the church too. Don't let nobody take away your power, especially if death and life, the church is so backwards. Death and life is in the power of your tongue is what they love to scream, but they want you to shut up. But they want you to lie and say, I call those things that are not as though they are, even though that scripture is one of the most oversaturatedly, wrongly used verses in the Bible. Calling those things that are not as though they are is not replacing the fact that I need help right now. Right. That who is weak, say he is strong, has killed 70% of our pastors. And I'm going to stop there. Talk about it.
You sure?
I'm done. I'm gonna put a period there.
But I'm happy because talk about it. And that is one of the reasons why I started this podcast, the Muzzle is Off podcast, because the muzzle is off. Yes. And you need to talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about those things that have been considered to be taboo. Talk about those things that are considered to be wrong. Talk about those things that are even considered to be right. Talk about it. Talk about it all. We gonna talk, because as everybody goes through their journey, we gonna journey together through this whole gamut called life. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm having another episode of the Muzzle is Off podcast coming on tomorrow, and we're going to have Pastor Don Panero on tomorrow, and we're still going to continue on with this topic of it's in the church, and we're going to continue on with this topic of basically kind of like the road to healing and the state of the church, because I believe that it is just imperative that we continue this dialogue, and it is imperative that we listen to voices that might not be the common voice, right? And I'll tell you how I even connected with Don was because he was watching some of the other podcasts and started commenting. And I said, you know what? And this was literally just like this past week. I said, why don't you come on the podcast and talk about it openly, right? Because I believe that it is imperative that we begin to have this conversation that we've been running from for so long. Because anytime we have this conversation, it's always turned out to be characterized as being messy. And it's not messy. It's actually important, because it is time for people to be free. And David, I am going to get your schedule for next month, because next month on the podcast, I'm actually talking about mental health, mental wealth, continuing with the road to healing. Yeah. So, and it's because I believe that it is imperative that we continue this conversation, because we cannot stop on this road to healing. We cannot stop. And for next month, I'm actually having people, like yourself, that are, licensed. Some are licensed, some are practicing, some have, studied in psychology, licensed social worker, licensed clinical social worker, another I guess another a licensed therapist, yourself being licensed, and because I believe that it is important to have a conversation about mental health with actual mental health professionals, people that have studied, because for far too long we have perpetuated lies about mental health. And I am not one that wants to perpetuate any more lies concerning mental health. I believe that we need to talk about it, mental health and mental wealth, because a lot of what has been locked up on the inside of us is because we are struggling with our mental health. So therefore, if I struggle with my mental health, then my mental wealth then suffers, along with the wealth of my life then suffers, so, and it also then hinders our road to actual healing. And like you stated about us being in a pandemic right now, we have a lot of people, including myself, that struggle dealing with anxiety and depression. I think that it is imperative that we begin to talk about those things, because we have people that are losing hope in the face of being closed off from society, not being able to go, not being able to travel. We have, there's so many different avenues and aspects. We also, truth be told, we also have people that are struggling without being able to assemble in their churches.
That's right.
Because for some people that are truly in the right house, that is their refuge.
That is.
And we need to talk about it, because we're in a time now where our mental health is imperative to get us through this pandemic, to get us through these days. And we're not necessarily talking about it as openly as I think that we should, and how it actually can affect us, but what we need to do and the steps that we need to follow in order to ensure that it does not take us out.
Yes.
One of the worst things that you can do is lose your mind. And I want the people to stay within their right mind.
Yes.
And, like for myself, one of the things that I began to do during this pandemic was, once I realized that anxiety and depression was really trying to take over, I said, I got to work out. I got to work.
That's right.
Because something has to shift in this reality, and that has been a tremendous part of helping me to deal and not feel anxious, and learn, and then also learning different ways to quiet my mind, right? Because anxiety is a buildup. So I had to learn different ways to quiet my mind and begin to shift and focus. And a lot of what has helped, all jokes aside, I've turned this TV off.
That's correct.
I am a news watcher, okay?
That's correct.
And seeing who we got in office every day, my nerves was bad. I couldn't sleep. I'm up watching. No. Turn this off, okay? Yeah. And it has helped. So I want to help people, and I want to. I'm going to get your schedule for this, because I just, some things can't just be spoken about just one day. Per week. So I'll get your schedule for next month as well, so that we can just figure out your own good day, because I really enjoyed this.
I enjoyed this, and thank you so much for number one, providing a platform for things to be said, for words to be said. And I want to challenge each person that is looking at this and will look at this to spread this. Why? Not just because we're getting ratings or trying. That's not really the point. That's nice, and we'll take it. However, the point really more is that this is necessary. This is necessary. What we're saying, even if they disagree, to allow them and make them or provoke or evoke them to think. Because if you can actually come against this, and you can, that's your right. But at least we've done actually our jobs by making you think. We have actually provided you a service, and you ought to tell us thank you. Actually, ought to give her an offering. But I'm saying, that this is so necessary, because what we don't want to happen is that the universe has shut the whole church down. And we get right back and start going right back in the same direction. Right. So while we're seated is the best time to do surgery, to do surveying, to do assessments, to do reflectivity. Is that the word? I saw that on the side.
That's the word.
Yes, reflectivity. That is because, and we know it because we say it all the time. A person that doesn't pay attention to their history is destined to what? Repeat it. So reflectivity stops you from repeating. So we need to. So please, ma'am, this is going on all forms of my. I am going to put it on all forms. I guess you'll send me the link, but because people need to be able, or at least have the option to be able to see it. You may skip. I don't care. None of that is what matters. What you're supposed to get, you're going to get out of it, and our job is done. But I need you, each person, to spread this. This is a great opportunity. This is a unique opportunity. This is a platform that many don't have, and talking about it helps you. Number one, knowing that there are more people like you out there helps you to not isolate. Helps you to know that, hey, if he can make it out, or if he can still talk about it, if she can survive, if she can make it, there's help and hope for me. I don't know how, because you never know the one person who just happened to flick by and see and hear from your page and see this and see what we're talking about and say, I'm so sick of the church. And then we hear us and hear, we're sick of the church too.
And we yet still love God.
And because we discuss it does not mean we're anti.
Right.
Because we say these are the things that we wish could change or should change or need to change or necessity to change does not mean we are against church. I love church. I'm going back when I can.
That's right.
In fact, I was a couple of weeks ago for an installation of a new church. Go figure. But I'm saying our hope is that we do things better, that we do things smarter, that we do things wiser, that we are illuminated. Now, I'm not into supporting nobody who is in bondage church. So the church I went to is a church that's forward thinking, and they, so that's fine. But I just want, it's time for us to stand up and not say anything, but share this, please, ma'am, please, sir. And again, to our host, our lovely host, please continue the work. Please don't be, because we're all human, so there are highs and there's lows. But please keep that focus. The leadership man, I think it's Stephen Covey. Remember the why. Remember your why, because there's going to be dark days. There's going to be things where it does get a little unbearable, and you can be as resilient as you want to be. It becomes heavy sometimes, and you just want to go punch somebody in their face. I've actually fought in church. Right. I grew up jumping from the alto section onto the organ to fight the organist. I didn't mind. That was my life. That's what I came for. So, but I'm saying, keep it going, keep moving forward. There's somebody out there that needs your voice and needs who you bring onto the platform that don't find anybody that look like you, that relates like you. So encourage you. You're doing a mighty work.
Thank you.
And you are the prophet of this hour.
You know what? Ain't nobody asked you.
I know. That's why I did it.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just gonna mosey on past that, okay, y'all? I'm not over here about to start, and we over here. Look, we like the typical church. We done closed 15 times.
Have we not? In my closing, my third one, and I know we got to go. And we're wrapping this up now. Oh, that's terrible. And it's been 2 hours. It's just like church.
Tell them you only gonna be an hour turned into 2.
2 hours and still going, and we still talking about the fact that I know we've been here, but if we were at a football game and they would tell you wouldn't leave until you saw the conclusion of the whole matter. Oh, I've been in church.
All up in it, and this is what we do. However, I have to thank you again, because this was very honest. This was very thought provoking and real, and I like that. That is who I am. We could disagree, but as long as it's an honest, thought provoking, and real conversation, that's all right. because we can all come to a common ground of understanding through conversing.
That's correct.
And oftentimes we forget that conversation is an art form, and we just want to make it into a who's right and a who's wrong. And it's art.
Yes.
And art is beautiful. And I love the art of conversing. I love the art of communication, because I believe that when you use it as an art, offense has no place.
That's correct.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we don't understand that how to use conversation as an art. And this opening up this platform, opening up this podcast was to show the ability to converse as an art form.
Yes.
And I want everybody to be able to do that as beautifully as you know how. And sometimes what we fail to understand and what we fail to realize is that when we're hurt, a lot of the art of our words are hidden by the hurt of our words. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, some of the words that we use when we're not realizing that it's really coming from a hurt place, is that those words then attach to someone else in a different way, which is then it changes conversation to be offensive and attacking, right? But when we bring balance to a conversation and we bring wholeness to a people, that's when it becomes an art. You know, it becomes something that can be beautiful and soothing. And that's what the Muzzle Off is about. It's about that, being able to converse, but bring healing, bring soothing, bring peace, bring understanding, thought-provoking conversation. You might not agree with it, but you're going to understand. That's that.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're not here to agree with everybody.
That's right.
I told somebody the other day, I said, even Jesus had a moment where he did not agree with God, because he sure enough asked him if you could remove this cup.
Yeah, is this absolutely? Are
you sure
right.
that you want me to do this?
Like, I'm not
really with this. Look, I'm technically not in agreement right now, because this is a little too much. But not my will, but thy will, right? So we have to understand that it is okay to disagree. But when he said, but not thy will, not my will, but thy will, he was coming to a place of understanding. We don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And have a good conversation with understanding. You personally don't have to agree, but you should be able to understand.
That's correct.
That's it.
That's correct.
Half these arguments happen because folk don't know how to just understand.
They listen to rebuttal.
That's it. And you don't have to do that. Just understand. And that's what we are here for. We are here to bring about understanding. And that's why I did, when Don was commenting on YouTube, I never met him a day in my life. Still have never met him. But I was like, you have something to say. Come on and say it. We're going to say it. But I need you to say it publicly so that people can understand even the heart of a pastor. You know what I'm saying? Because now we have to understand one whom feels the hurt of the people, as they should. You know, and one who can articulate this hurt and be able to understand and be able to help you to understand where they're at with why this hurt is wrong. And now, how do we go down our road of healing? You know what I'm saying? And we're just gonna keep tackling this, because that's why I said the road to healing. I said this can't end, because it has to keep going. Because we're truth be told, everybody's taking this journey with me as well. Because for whatever reason, God has us on this road to healing, and we're just going to walk this road to healing out until the Lord says, okay, right. But we're on this road, because in October, the road to healing is yet still continuing, because there are certain things that we just don't talk about openly that I feel that we have to remove the shame from. So October is going to be called Removing the Shame, Road to Healing. We just got to keep doing this. You know, we have to keep doing this. So I want us to keep doing this so that we can understand how to become free.
Amen.
And that's where we at. So, like I said,
in our 12th closing.
Hello. Okay. Because we done closed 15 times, but it's all right.
Yes.
We are from the good Baptist, Costal, Kojic, all them churches. Therefore, we closed 20 times and then asked for an offering. And we ain't even giving y'all no offering, so it's all right. But Dr. Glover, I thank you.
Not a problem. I appreciate the opportunity.
This was truly a joy. It was enlightening. It was inspiring. And I hope that the people, I don't know what, some of the folk be commenting some craziness. You be licking sweet. I hope the people are inspired, and I hope that you feel encouraged, and I hope that you feel empowered by the conversation that took place tonight on the Muzzle is Off podcast, as we truly continue on our road to healing, and as we truly continue on talking about it's in the church. And we're going to keep talking about it's in the church until folk understand that it's there, and we begin to change and shift the church as a whole. And there's nothing wrong with change. Change is good. Everybody should start liking change. Some of y'all have a mental illness because you don't like change. And y'all need a pill for that or something. Something needs to go on with the non-liking of change.
Go to my YouTube. We talk about change, organizational change, and how to prepare.
Go to, what is your YouTube? Go ahead.
Moments with Glover. So that's what it is. Moments with Glover. It's the only one, so it'll come up.
You better come on. You better come on and be the only one.
Oh, yes. The only Moments with Glover you're going to find. Bless you.
Hello. They better, and nobody better not take it because y'all not Glover like he Glover, okay?
Hey.
Hello. Somebody. Listen, I tell people, I don't care. Shoot.
Yeah.
We sweat straight. Never mind. So anyway, Moments with Glover. Look him up on YouTube. Follow.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. You know what I'm saying, folks? Subscribe to Moments with Glover.
Yes.
And truly begin to learn. I tell you what, he sent me 3 of his videos, and I promise you, I was sitting there with that good notepad. So you're going to learn, and I think that's where we're at in this day and age. We got time to learn, so you might as well use this time wisely, okay, and learn some things. Let me, as we used to say back in the day, let me learn you something. So
yes, learn, teach us, learn you something. Mm-hmm.
Let me learn you something. So that's what we in the business is doing. So definitely follow, subscribe to Moments with Glover. Follow him on Facebook. Don't just bombard people with friend requests. Sometimes you just got to click that little follow button and it's all right. And just begin to really glean from people. That's all.
Yes.
Folk send you friend requests, and then you got to figure out how you know them, where you know them from, and all sorts of extra stuff, and you don't even know them. So no, sometimes the follow button is well enough. It works well. So
and we're notified.
Definitely no.
So we know that you followed us. So good.
Never mind. I was about to say something because someone. Never mind. It's okay. We'll do that offline. So thank y'all. Tune in tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Just for our special edition of the Muzzle is Off podcast, dealing with still it is in the church, dealing with still the road to healing, and then starting next week, which we are already into September. Could you believe it?
Yes. Yeah. Listen,
next week, Wednesday, which will be September 2nd at 7 p.m., we are going to continue on with our road to healing, but we are going to really tackle mental health, mental wealth. All right. So y'all have a good night. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for rocking with us for this whole good 2.5 hours. Okay. Because we've been over.
The church service. Okay. We should have had a hymn.
Somebody should have sang something up in here. Get the people alive and popping and ready. But we appreciate the fact that you enjoyed the good word. Hello, how about that?
That's true. Yeah.
Folks got to start feasting off the word and stop just wanting to sing songs. I said it. Mm-hmm. So good night, everybody. Have a great evening and join us tomorrow. And again, of course, next week on the Muzzle is Off podcast. Bye. Right.